English word called worthship. See, God is worth it. Again, you guys have showed up. He's worth it to you. He's radically changed some of your lives. He gave you breath in your lungs this morning that you could wake up. He's worth it to you. And I kind of wrote in my notes, without worship, we wither. That's kind of like a mentality for me. Without worship, we wither. Why is that? You've been created for worship. Your God created you to worship Him. And without it, we wither. I know there's times in my life where I'll be busy, kind of doing all these kind of things. There's a lot of pressure or whatever the case is, and I start withering. But you know what I do? And I've told you this, sometimes I have this like little Bose iPod player. I'll hop in the shower, just crank that, a little Desperation Band, little Hillsong, something, just worshiping God. And my kids will tell you. In fact, Zion just said the other day, Dad, you need to get some voice lessons or something. But I'm telling you, I get out that shower and I'm a different guy. I'm starting to wither. Okay, I need to worship. And I understand the power of worship. A couple things that happen as we gather together. It's not just, okay, we're going to sing a couple songs. You know, it's just kind of what we do. No, number one, we're going to humble ourselves before God. That word worship in the Hebrew, in the original manuscript, is shakah, which basically means to bow down. Psalm 100, for you note takers, Psalm 100, 1 through 3. Check this out. It says, make a joyful shout to the Lord, all you lands. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come before His presence with singing. Know that the Lord, He is God. And clue in right here. It is He who has made us and not we ourselves. We're His people and the sheep of His pasture. I think it starts there, man. When we come into worship, just to humble ourselves before God. God, take away all the other distractions that are going on. I want to humble myself before you and connect with you. It's this time of humbling ourselves before God. Number two, we're entering into His presence. That psalm right there, 100, continues on in verse 4 and says, enter into His gates with thanksgiving. Enter into His courts with praise. The Jews, back in the day, their place of worship, like this Kiewit Middle School here, they actually had a temple, and they had a temple area. And it was basically divided into segments. And I wish I could kind of walk through it. But the back part of it was called the outer court. And that's where the non-Jews could hang out. It was called the area of the Gentiles. When I say Gentile, it means they were non-Jewish people. And so you had the outer court. And then if you were Jewish, you were an Israelite, you could come in through this little gate and you would come into the inner court. And now there's this inner court section. If you got a little bit farther, then the priests were there. Now if you continue to go on, there would be this place called the Holy of Holies. And that was where the very presence of God dwelt, according to the Jews. It was right there. He was there. And there was this big, huge curtain type thing that would separate this inner court from the Holy of Holies. And so one time a year, the most high priest, the great priest, would be able to go in there and he would kill an animal, he would take that blood, and he would go into the Holy of Holies and make that sacrifice for the sins of all the Israelites. So there was this progression that would happen, and that's exactly what happens in praise, in worship. There's sometimes, man, I come in here and it's like, okay, I want to get there. I want to get to the Holy of Holies. I know, and here's the thing. When Jesus died, right when He died, that veil was torn from the top to the bottom. So now all of us have the same access to the Holy of Holies, to the very presence in the heart of God. And so we have access. Now there's times where I'll come in and I'll be like, I want to get there. I want to go and just sit with God and hang out with Him and worship Him. But I'm kind of like, I still got some stuff from this week kind of hanging on me. I need to stay on my outer court a little bit, But then maybe another song goes by and, all right, okay, I'm feeling it a little bit. And now I start walking a little bit closer. And next thing you know, and that's Al's desire, that's the team's desire, is now the whole body, all of us, would be able to enter into the Holy of Holies and to be able to worship God in spirit and in truth. We're entering into His presence. And it's a process. Some of you guys, maybe you don't know Christ, or you're just starting out with this thing, you're kind of filling it out, and it's worship time, and you're like kind of looking around, and all right, these guys are weird, and some of these guys are Pentecostal Calvaryites, and pray, and you're like, oh, dude, tough on that. It's okay. Hey, that's okay. Everybody's at a different position of worship, and that's okay. We want to graduate into that place where the hands up, it's surrender. I don't care. I'm not looking at what's going on. I am connecting with my Creator. This time of worship is powerful. And again, it's a process. So don't go, oh man, the pastor told me I got to raise my hands. If I don't, I'm really not, I'm not really spiritual unless I got my hands up. No, it's a process as you continue that relationship, that connection with God. So you're humbling, you're entering into His presence. And again, I'm giving God a huge hug. I'm telling Him thanks, man. I'm recognizing Him as my Creator, my best friend. Psalm 100, continuing on in verse 4 there, it says, be thankful to Him and bless His name. So I told you in the Hebrew scriptures that word worship was shakah, but in the New Testament, in the Greek, it was proskuneo. And I won't get into all that, but basically the term meant basically to kiss the hand, or it's kind of like that, when you're going to meet a queen, you're on your knees and you're grabbing her hand, you're kissing it. And that's kind of the word worship in the New Testament. It is this, I'm giving God, I'm kissing His hand, I'm loving on Him. Again, I'm putting my hands up. It's like a little baby, a little toddler, when he's just putting his hands up like, Mommy, come pick me up. I just want a hug. That's kind of what this is, this worship. Man, I want to hug you. I want to connect with you. So it's giving Him a hug, giving Him thanks. And then finally, it's the time of preparation. And this is the big thing I want you guys to hear. The heartbeat behind your worship team is to basically, you can kind of look at Al as like that guy that goes out before baseball games and has the big hose and kind of sprays down the field. You guys ever seen that? Some of you guys, you go through pregame warm-ups and they're taking ground balls and everything, and then the crew gets out and they're raking it, and then next thing you know, the guy kind of waters it down right before they get on the field. That's basically what's going on. We're asking God to use the team to spray off those hearts, all of our hearts. They've gotten hard throughout the week. And they're crusty through the kids acting like, you know what, and you guys are great kids, but, job going haywire, relationships all messed up, sin. We live in a sin-saturated world, man. Burdens, illnesses. And our hearts become hardened. And now a time of worship, just releasing that as the Spirit's just sprayed out on your hearts. And what that does is your ground of your heart starts becoming soft. And now the Word of God's going to start coming, and now it's soft. Now when those seeds of the Word of God's planted, it doesn't bounce off that hard heart. No, but it's manageable. It's a little more malleable. That's what I'm talking about. It's a little more loosened up for the Word of God to penetrate. So that's another thing that goes on during worship. So worship, and then that's what happens. The Word is next. You'll see at Calvary Chapel, it's not real, we just get into the Word, man. Now this is atypical. This is more of a topical type teaching. But usually we just get into a book of the Bible and start teaching right through. Turn to Nehemiah 8, speaking of which, and I want to give you kind of biblically what it looks like going through the Word of God in an expositional manner. Pastor Chuck Smith has a saying, and he says, simply teach the Bible simply. Man, open it up, read through it, help the body understand it. Simply teach the Bible simply. Nehemiah 8, let me give you a little background. The Israelites at this point they wandered away, they've served other gods, and now the northern kingdom, Israel, was ransacked by the Assyrians. They came in and actually conquered them, and they started intermarrying in the northern kingdom, and now you had the Samaritan race produced as a result. After that time, the southern kingdom of Judah, they were starting to serve false gods too, and so God took the Babylonians in, and they conquered them and took them out, took them back to Babylonia. And for 70 years, they were in exile there. After these 70 years, the Persian Empire actually conquered the Babylonian Empire and started letting the Jews go back to their homeland.